basic assumption in phonology is that the underlying form is different from the surface form, often very different, and charting what the rule is as to how you get from the underlying to the surface can be much more difficult than figuring out that a voiceless consonant gets a voice when it's between two voices, or vowels, so to speak. Or even something a little trickier, which is that the real plural marker must be z because it appears everywhere else, and that it becomes a s. Sometimes these things get much more complex, and that's what phonologists do. But to give you a sense, and I think this is really, really fun, I wanna share this with you, to give you a sense of how allophones work, and the fact that allophony, so to speak, is really central to how we express sounds, i.e. these things that are often represented by one letter of the alphabet. I want to show you something with the word oil. Now, what is oil? Now, before we started this set, we thought of oil as something that's spelled with letters, O-I-L, okay? Well, now we know that it's actually, there are actually only 3 symbols that we need, or depending on what you want to call it, 2, if you call the diphthong 1. And so what we have is our sound for all. This is the quote-unquote backwards C. And we have a diphthong, and so we have the J symbol, which is the glide. And so oil, and then we have an L. And so there you go. Now, that really is just the underlying phonemic representation of how an English speaker actually says oil. And that's because actually there are allophones of L. And so, for example, take the word lateral. I think I'm saying lateral the way most American English speakers say lateral. But really, there's a difference between the first L and the final L. Because if there weren't, if you think about it, what I'd be saying is lateral, because I'm saying let's isolate it. So I'm doing this nice, clean L, this L that flips gracefully into the A. That's what we all do. La, 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 la. Okay, so lateral, I'm not doing that. Now, of course, I'm exaggerating this little come-off, but even so, lateral, no, that's not what I'm doing. The L at the end is actually rather different. In fact, the L at the end of lateral, the way we really say it, is actually pretty much a vowel. It's lateral. Oh, hear that? And so, in the same way, the L in oil is not what we think of as an L. Nobody, after all, says oil, oil. It's not the same L as at the beginning of, say, liquid. There are allophones of L-ness, of L-itude. There's the one that you use at the beginning of a word or a syllable, and so that's the L one, and I think in all of our heads, that's real L, partly